Are we are we are we back?
Welcome to False Nine TV, and welcome to the Gold Cup predictions. And for those of you who follow the channel, the Gold Cup went pretty much, for the most part, exactly how we thought it was going to, with maybe a couple of things here and there, right? So we've got the U.S., who somehow looked terrible in every game except for Trinidad, and somehow still managed to win every game. Are we perhaps witnessing Panama's coming out party and solidifying themselves as perhaps a new contender for the top three in CONCACAF? Saudi Arabia kind of showed up, kind of didn't, but they still got the best looking coach in the league, or I should say the tournament. And Jamaica, to no one's surprise, has one of the most talented teams in the league, or I keep saying league, in the tournament, but yet somehow self-imploded again and did absolutely nothing of note. So that said, we are now on the knockout stages. And who's going to win? Who is going to win this round of knockouts? Well, this is just my opinion. We're going to see what happens. Let me know in the comments which games you agree with, which games you disagree with, and tell me why. Actually, it's always fun to talk the sport in the comments. And my question for today's video is, which round or which knockout round game do you think has the most chance of being an upset? Let me know in the comments, and let's get into today's predictions. So the first game we're going to get into is my home country, the USA, versus Costa Rica. And before I get into the actual prediction, I do want to say this is probably the hardest game to pick. And also shout out to Raul and Navas having that really cool moment in the Costa Rica-Mexico game. To me, honestly, even if you hate both squads or love one and hate the other, that was a cool game to watch. And I think the only thing that would have made that a little more fitting is if Memi Ochoa would have taken the net. And how fitting would it have been to see Navas and Ochoa, maybe for the last time, end in a 0-0 draw with 2 clean sheets. As a goalkeeper, or as a former goalkeeper, to me, that's just something I get my jingles off on too, right? Okay, don't judge me. And speaking of, this may be the last time the USA play Keylor Navas. And so for me as a viewer, I'm going to be taking that in and really enjoying the moment, because that may be the last time I ever see him take the net against my country. So that said, let's get into the actual game. So in terms of the U.S., and I don't think either of these teams really look that great in the group stages, first of all. I want to add that too. But for the U.S., something that I think that could play a role in this game is distractions. And what I mean by that is Tillman and Agumon are currently going through transfer negotiations, right? And I'm not saying it's them specifically doing it. I'm sure their agents are handling a lot of the work. But they're still going to have at least some role in it, right? So Tillman, of course, is getting probably a big money move. Agumon is going to perhaps go to Derby City, which, I mean, that is a move up for him. I don't want to say Derby's a big club, but at the same time, they used to be, at least they've got history, but it's going to be a project for him. So is that going to play a role in this game? Are they going to be worried about where they're moving to? I don't know, but I know it would be in the back of my mind if I was a player. So I do want to throw that out there as well. In terms of the actual play on the pitch, well, the U.S. have been relying on, I think, luck. They're relying on Chris Richards to be Superman and save some what could have been goals, should have been goals. And they're also scoring kind of random goals. So I've not been too impressed with how the U.S. have looked. And in terms of Costa Rica, well, half of their goals they've scored in this tournament, literally, have been penalty kicks. So take that for what it's worth too. To me, this game could go literally either way. I think both teams are going to make one mistake each, which is going to absolutely burn them. It's probably going to be both squads are going to make an errant pass or a mistake in the back line, and it's going to cost them at least one goal each. Whoever scores that other goal, though, that's going to be the winner. To me, I'm predicting a U.S. victory. Call me a little biased, but at least they did. At least they didn't draw any other games like Costa Rica. I'm predicting them to win 2-1. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be an ugly game until the U.S. shows that they can be beat in this tournament. I've got to roll with them. So 2-1. Hopefully that actually happens, but we'll find out. Let's go to the next game. Oh, Canada and Guatemala. Now, although I think the U.S. game is the most difficult to predict, I think this is the most intriguing matchup of the knockouts. With Canada, at least in this tournament, you don't really know what you're getting. They thrashed Honduras, who also made the knockouts, by the way, 6-0, but then had a draw against Curacao. And El Salvador, they were, if I'm not mistaken, playing behind until the red card happened. So what does that mean? Well, I really don't know, to be honest with you. Talent-wise, I think Canada's the better team. I think they're one of the better teams in CONCACAF. And honestly, I love Jesse Marsh. I really do. I hate his shit talking to the U.S., but at the same time, it's deserved. And his criticisms are valid, and he should feel the way he does. But that said, I don't know what to expect from Canada. And with Guatemala, to me, you've got arguably the worst squad in the knockouts, but somehow they've managed to get the job done in a group with Panama and Jamaica. And say what you want about Jamaica, I crapped on them a little bit in the beginning, but they're still a talented squad. That said, I'm going to have to go with what's up here and not what I kind of want to happen in here. And I'm going to say that Canada shows up to this game. They make up a little bit for what they've been doing in the past 2 games. And this game ends in a 3-1 victory for Canada, with that one goal that they give up perhaps coming in garbage time. I'm thinking Canada handles this one pretty easy. We'll see if I'm right. Mexico versus Saudi Arabia. Now, if I supported El Tri, which is my country's arch nemesis, and I don't, I'd be very happy with this opponent. Mainly because Saudi Arabia's full squad isn't here. I think Saudi were kind of lucky to get in. At times, they were actually on the outside looking in. If you followed that final day, there was a moment where Saudi Arabia actually weren't going to make the knockouts. And remember, Saudi Arabia barely beat Haiti. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, it was a missed penalty kick by Haiti that even gave Saudi Arabia the victory there. And they drew against a very, very weak Trinidad and Tobago team, which the U.S. looked like they were just monsters out there against. So my opinion on the Saudi Arabia team isn't very high right now. Saudi Arabia does have this going for them, that they're coached by Hervé Renard, who's just known for doing a lot with not a lot of resources. And I'm serious. As someone who has an African wife, I've followed him for quite a bit. He's done a lot in AFCON, the AFCON tournament, which is my favorite tournament to watch other than the World Cup. So I'm a big fan of Hervé Renard, and I was pulling for him to get the U.S. job, although we went with Mauricio Pochettino, which is, I don't know how to feel about that yet. But that said, I love Hervé. He's the best-looking coach in the tournament, but I don't see them being able to go toe-to-toe with this Mexico team. I think Mexico takes it 2-0. I don't think the game is going to be anywhere near as dramatic as the 2022 matchup. But I think it's going to be a tournament where, a game where Saudi Arabia they're just not able to break through. Very similar to how they were against the U.S. It's just, they're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Mexico. Mexico is going to handle this pretty easily. So let's go on to the final game. Now, of the games that we have, Panama versus Honduras might be one of the easiest games to predict, at least for me. Panama has scored 10 goals in 3 games in this tournament, and they have not trailed one single minute the entire tournament. Then you've got Honduras with a -3 goal differential, which I know a lot of that had to do with that just thrashing that Canada gave them. But they haven't looked too convincing in World Cup qualifiers either. They're barely getting past island nations 1-0, 2-0. Which, by the way, World Cup qualifying, if you are in Canada, Mexico, or in the U.S., check it out. It's actually pretty cool to watch since there's no pressure for any of these games to matter. You can just enjoy the matchup and watch it play out. That's my plug for them. I know you're going to see everyone's best in the knockout stages, but I think Panama is just too good and low-key maybe the favorite right now in the tournament. Like I said earlier, I do think this might be Panama's coming out party. And could this be the year that someone other than US, Mexico, or Canada win the Gold Cup? It might be. Panama takes this 3-0. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Let me know what you agreed with, what you didn't agree with. If I had any hot takes that you agree with, let me know. If I had any hot takes that you think I sounded like an idiot, also let me know and tell me why. That said, thank you for watching. Please hit subscribe if you can. Like the video if you can. Comment. I'd love to talk to you. And whatever this weekend and week brings that you want, I hope that you get it. Have a safe week, guys. Bye.